Louis, New South Wales Treasurer Dominic Perrottet has proposed an annual property tax in place of stamp duty. At a first glance, what are your thoughts there?
I think it's going to stimulate the market further in New South Wales.
In terms of price or transactions?
Both. It's going to provide a lot of liquidity. I'm a fundamental believer in the tax change for the long term. I think it does actually help affordability
Is it a
in the long
fairer
term.
tax for the consumer?
I think so.
Yes.
As an owner-occupier, when you basically transact on a property, you'll pay on average about 4% of the purchase price in stamp duty up front. Now, the offer on the table now is that instead of that, you can opt in to pay just 0.38% each year on the underlying land value. And that's a huge difference between paying 4% of the purchase price versus 0.38% on the underlying land value. And I roughly work out the break-even point in terms of time between the two is about 25 years.
Wow.
So if you go down the option of, as an owner-occupier, paying the land tax, you're going to be ahead for about 25 years. And the reality is most people hold their property on average for about 9 years. So as an owner-occupier, I think this is money for jam.
Louis, something that I've been trying to get across is if you're an investor, a property investor, a would-be landlord, stamp duty is not a tax deduction, whereas land tax is a tax deduction. Do we know where this annual property tax sits on that scale?
I think we need more information and more clarity on the state government regarding this issue. I don't think they've been fully clear on it, and maybe it's part of policy that they still need to release. They're still going through. And let's remember there's a consultation period as well.
Yes.
But it is an important question. As it currently stands on the information released, a property investor will actually pay 1% land tax on the unimproved land value, assuming the new policy gets up. And that, of course, is a lot more than what an owner-occupier will be paying.
Yes. Someone that currently qualifies for land tax, if they add another property to their portfolio,
yes,
but they opt to take the annual property tax option,
yes,
do they still pay land tax as they normally would, even though they're not paying stamp duty?
From my reading, and once again, this point needs to be clarified, Peter. From what I can see, the answer is yes, they will.
Yes. Do you think this will create more speculation, flippers, short-term buy-sells, more stimulus in the market from people having a crack and getting in and out quicker?
I think we'll see more flipping for sure.
Yes.
So as a property investor, it's going to be a lot easier to buy a rundown property, not pay the stamp duty, pay the land tax for say a year, do your renos and flip the property. And your transaction costs, of course, will be a lot less. That up until now, the standard transaction cost in total from buying and selling a property here in New South Wales would be close to about 6.5–7%. And that's a lot. It's actually hard to make money if you're a renovator. Very hard to do it, or a property flipper. So we're going to see a lot more property flipping.
Yes.
But we're also going to see a lot more liquidity in the market, which is a good thing, in my view. We are going to see people who should downsize. The couple that are in there, the empty nesters, that are in the 50s and 60s, they don't want to downsize because they're going to pay a lot of transaction costs in selling their home and buying a new home. Well, on this schedule, they won't have to really be as concerned about that. And that's what it's designed for. It's designed to have have the population use property more efficiently. And I think it's going to achieve that.
Yes, stamp duty does stop property from being used efficiently. There's no doubt about that. Louis, governments are notorious for overlooking the unintended consequences of policy changes. What unintended consequences are you seeing, potentially seeing in this change?
I see some immediate consequences where this is going to be highly stimulatory for the housing market in New South Wales initially.
As it was in Canberra, because that prices in Canberra are so strong, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And people keep missing the point that this structure that they're using, or a version of this structure in Canberra, is a major contributor, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. So it's going to stimulate the New South Wales housing market in a big way in 2021. And that's going to be over and above all the other stimulus that we've already got in terms of low interest rates and JobKeeper and so forth. So, this is one of the reasons why we're a little bit more bullish on the Sydney housing market for next year.
Louis, great information today. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to be with you.